sampling that you read.
And we're shadow banned on a lot of platforms.
Yeah. And then we get, it's deeply disturbing. Colonel, because of your military expertise, I want to ask you now in Tel Aviv. So Glenn Greenwald moments ago posting this 2021 New York Times piece about the new IDF Supreme Command Post, which is in the heart of Tel Aviv. And they built this massive bunker system for the IDF, and they specifically built it beneath civilian buildings in Tel Aviv. They call it Fortress of Zion. And it was, of course, deliberately placed there to be so it couldn't be attacked without seemingly hitting civilian sites. So what do you, where do you see Iran's targets? Are we going to see a lot of civilian infrastructure struck, mostly military targets, and then will Iran over 24 hours say, okay, we're done now, let's let cooler heads prevail, let's go back to the nuclear negotiating table? We see moments ago hypersonic missile attacks inside of Tel Aviv, and they can't stop it with this Iron Dome. So maybe you could just talk military, tactically and strategically here for Iran.
Well, Iran, first of all, has an almost inexhaustible supply of missiles, and they have alternative sources. They can not only build their own missiles, they can get additional components and warheads from other sources, whether those sources are North Korea, China, Russia, as I said before, potentially even Pakistan. And now the Turks are coming online and saying that they support Iran. And I'm sure that there are others. So I think there won't be a shortage of things for the Iranians to fight back with. The real question now is, what do we do? And I think President Trump is already signaling that he'd like to go back to the negotiating table. The problem is that no one believes him. He's destroyed his credibility. I don't think anybody's going to show up to negotiate with him about anything. So I think this is going to go on, and it'll get worse the longer it lasts. And eventually you reach the nuclear threshold. That's what's always worried me, because as the Israelis become more and more desperate and realize just what a terrible position they are in, that's when they threaten the use of a nuclear weapon. Now, the danger, of course, is that by that time, others will have provided nuclear weapons for use against them. In other words, unless there is some sort of miraculous come to Jesus moment in Israel, and I don't think it's going to happen there, this is going to reach a climax, and the climax is not good for Israel. It's going to be disastrous for the Middle East, disastrous for the world. But it may be unavoidable now. The Israelis are operating on a degree of self-congratulation, self-importance, self-love that you can't even begin to imagine. And you just pointed out a good example of where their thinking lies. If they're going to be defeated, then I think their attitude is, we'll pull the plug on everybody and kill everything. And that's a catastrophe, too. The Iranians, contrary to popular belief, whatever mistakes they've made, and I don't think they've made very many. I mean, everybody says, well, they should have given up enrichment. Not really. That's a sovereign right. And enriching uranium for purposes other than military is totally legitimate. Lots of countries have it. Lots of countries do it. The Indians and the Pakistanis both have nuclear weapons. They're too smart to use those things against each other. So in a sort of perverse kind of way, there's been a mutual balance of terror there that has helped to preserve some degree of peace. The problem we have right now in the region is you've got one country that has nuclear weapons. They want to maintain that monopoly, and they're willing to do anything against anyone to keep it. And that's where we are. And we, unfortunately, have encouraged it and underwritten it. Now, could this affect us here at home? Could people become so frustrated with us that ultimately they just attack us as well? I think we're going to see that in the region. It could actually spread to Europe because we have military installations there that the Iranians and others in the Middle East could attack. But it could also happen to us here in the United States. Remember, the southern border, Mexico, is America's soft underbelly. In other words, it's the place you go for strategic advantage against us because it forces us to fight on multiple fronts. We're not prepared for that in Mexico, but it could happen.
Yeah.